Good afternoon. Today I wanted to talk to you about the circulatory system, specifically blood. Blood has plasma and formed elements, and I wanted to touch on how being chronically dehydrated can lead to an increased risk of high blood pressure and stroke. So those formed elements and the liquid matrix, that's what makes up blood. And the matrix makes up the majority of your blood. It's about a 55% of your blood, so majority. And we directly influence our health by being hydrated or not hydrated each day. So I know that when I got to my upper level biology classes, a lot of us college students really struggled in understanding how blood was a connective tissue, because we think ligaments, muscles, tendons, those are things that are connecting things. How is blood a connective tissue? It's actually a liquid connective tissue because it's serving as a highway for gas exchange, hormones, things that aren't supposed to be there to be removed, things like that. So I'm going to dive into the formed elements. We have red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Red blood cells look like this. It's going to be a biconcave disc, and it's specifically designed that way to have a high surface volume ratio to its size. It's very, very, very small, and capillaries are actually only built to fit one red blood cell through it. And when you ask somebody what is blood made up of, they say red blood cells, because that's what gives blood its red color, because of the hemoglobin in it. And this is what carries oxygen to our tissues and carbon dioxide back to our lungs. White blood cells differentiate into 5 different things. They all serve the purpose of immunity. They're gonna see something that's in our circulatory system and attack it and be like, you're not supposed to be here, we're gonna get rid of you. Platelets are very interesting because they actually stem from a cell called a megakaryocyte that's too big to leave the bone. So they're actually not cells, they're cell fragments. They release different things when you bleed. So when you get a cut, platelets are the reason that you don't bleed out. Plasma is the liquid matrix of your blood, so that's the liquid component. It's 99% water, so that's where you can stay hydrated and keep your blood healthy. It's also composed of other things like ions, antibodies, electrolytes, and those things allow your hormones to be able to be transported throughout your blood system. And a way to basically see the percentage of blood cells that are red blood cells is called a hematocrit test. So according to the Mayo Clinic, results from this test are reported as the percentage of blood cells that are red blood cells. This definition, however, can vary from one medical practice to another because it's up to each lab to decide what that healthy range is based on the population that's around them. So the 2 main factors that I want to focus on with blood and dehydration is something called polycythemia and anemia. Polycythemia is a little foreign to a lot of people. It's something I just learned about. So with that hematocrit, they're going to take your blood, they're going to spin it around in a centrifuge, and it's going to separate based on density. Plasma, white blood cells and platelets, and then red blood cells. Everybody knows what the red blood cells are. So with polycythemia, you can either have an overproduction of red blood cells, which is very, very rare, or you have too little plasma, which is very, very common because people are chronically dehydrated. So the more water you drink, the more you ensure that your blood is that right viscosity. That was the word. Anemia is typically you don't have enough red blood cells, and your red blood cells are what carry oxygen throughout your body. And according to the American Society of Hematology, anemia is diagnosed when a blood test shows that hemoglobin level, which is what carries that oxygen, value less of 13.5 grams in men or less than 12 grams per deciliter in women. And then touching on that viscosity part, that really just means too thick or too thin. So our blood is more alkaline, so it's more basic on a acidity level than water, and it's also a little bit thicker than water. So according to the Southeastern Medical Oncology Center, blood that is too thick or thin can cause problems. Blood that is too thick can cause clots, and that can lead to a stroke. And blood that is too thin can lead to easy bruising, and you can bleed easier. And that's where those platelets come in. So having that right viscosity or that right smoothness is extremely important to ensure that everything's running smoothly throughout your circulatory system, which is where being hydrated comes in, making sure that you aren't at increased risk for high blood pressure or stroke. So just wrapping everything up, blood is that liquid connective tissue. It's serving as a highway throughout your body. And you can stay hydrated and make sure that you aren't at increased risk for high blood pressure or stroke. And blood's made up of those formed elements again: red blood cells, white blood cells, and the matrix. Thanks.